7:02. Start with roll call.
Gail Linden.
Blake Moore.
Chris Gombiewski.
Joe Rozelle.
Rick Poland. Looking for approval of tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, approval of the minutes from May 28th, 2024. Any corrections?
I sent some to Hank earlier, and he got them out to Sarah.
There was a couple errors that she had made, and she's only going to be doing the minutes for another month or so, and then she's taking a different position elsewhere. So she is going to correct those minutes, and then we'll have those for the city commission to approve.
They were respective of something in Bendix and the lot sizes being mixed up on the Bendix proposal, also on the 3 lots. They were in the wrong spots.
There was one that had like a lot area, lot size, and it should have been one for the other. And she misheard it or miswrote it. So we will have to correct those. So you could do one of two things. You can do that subject to corrections already forwarded, or you can do that subject to, or you can have them come back at the next meeting, whatever your pleasure is.
I think subject to the corrections already noted. It's fine.
Right. That's how I'd like to do it. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, matter of review of an addition at 8019 Concord.
Mr. Chair, just before the meeting starts, I just want to point out one other thing, is that they have, the order of this was 8019 is on the agenda first, so let's do that first. But in the packet, it's reversed. So we'll do 8019 first. The other thing that I want to make sure that everybody is aware of is that out of 9 people, we have 5 here. They need all 5 votes to pass on anything on the agenda tonight, actually, so.
Okay, you want to get started?
Okay. Should we start or?
Yeah,
You
go ahead.
Go ahead, Art.
Oh, okay.
If you need me to move some pages, I'm happy to do that for you.
No, from here I have to go there.
Okay.
You can do it from there as long as you speak into the mic.
Hi, good evening. Okay, so before I will start talking about the house, I will let the homeowner, Nola Pickman, to just speak a little bit about the house and how we started all the process, and then I will take it from there.
Hi, I'm Nola Pickman, one of the owners. My husband Jared is at home with our little baby right now. So we recently moved back to the area in November of this past year. We were living up in Traverse City for a couple of years for my husband's job. And my husband, he actually grew up in Huntington Woods, grew up on Dundee and Salem, then also lived on Hendry. So our goal ever since we've been married was to get a house in Huntington Woods. And literally right after we had our daughter in August, 8019 Concord went up for sale. I was honestly in the hospital room. We saw it. We're like, we have to see this house. And a week later, my husband came down, toured it, and it was like, this is the house for us. There's some updates we need to make, but the location is right down the road from where he grew up. We just kind of saw this vision of like what the house could be, just kind of bringing it more current. So luckily we were in a bidding war, as with all houses are in Huntington Woods, and we won this one. We've lost a couple others. And we got the house, and pretty much right after we moved in November, we started the process with Arig and our designer, Amanda Wolf, who's also my husband's cousin, so that's nice to have a designer in the family. And we've kind of put this whole project together, and we're really hoping to get it approved because we're very excited about it.
Thank you. Okay, so the addition, the house location is in the corner of Concord in York. And the way it is read in the ordinance, the front of the house is actually facing York, even that's the front door facing Concord. So just want to make sure that we're all on the same page on that. The addition that we are looking is actually only less than 5 feet into the side yard, into the south of the house. And that is all we are doing on the first floor only. So if you look on the site plan, you can see the darkened area, that's the addition. And most of the work is going to be on the inside when we are basically opening up the first floor. As far as the house right now, if you could look at the upper plane, there is a bay that, actually it's in the disrepair currently. And the entire side of that house is not in a very good condition, so we are taking it down and building out toward that direction, which is the south side of the house. If we look on the elevations, you can see that we are keeping with the same style of the house, which is brick on the first floor and siding on the second floor. So obviously on the second floor, we are not doing any addition, but on the first floor addition, we are doing brick. The brick on the existing house is pretty regular brick, I would say, and we should be able to match it as much as we can. Also, we are matching for the existing style of windows and all the brick details, etc. There's going to be matching the existing house. Currently, the house, you can look at the upper drawing. You see that is the elevation looking into York, which is the front of the house. So you see the 4-foot addition to the left of the existing house. And that's all get what you can see from the street, but also just you understand this part of addition is set back from the front face of the house. Okay, so if you look at the lower drawing, you see the second pair of French doors. That's where the addition is. So the addition is basically about 12 feet or so from the front of the house. If we look at the other elevation, which we can look at the next page, please.
You want this page here? That's what we were just on.
No, the next one. The previous one, I'm sorry. Yes, here you see the bottom drawing, that's the elevation that's facing Concord, and that's where the front door is. That basically stay the same, except that we are replacing the old window with new windows. That's the only change on that elevation. On the upper drawing, again, you see it's very similar. It's symmetrical to what you see from York Street, so that face the west side, and that's the front portion is the existing garage. That's a very simple addition. Hopefully, you will approve it. We comply with all the ordinance, all the calculation for areas, etc. And we look. If you have any question, let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to go back and I'm going to use his materials up here for a real simple portion of this. If you take a look at this, which is the site plan, the sealed site plan, this area right here is what they're doing. So the thing for them is that they wouldn't even be here if this was oriented differently, or if Concord was the actual front, not the technical front, because the addition would have been back behind the house and they would have met all the requirements for that. But having said that, this is what they have. So here, let me go to this elevation first. So this is the front, this is what they see from the front of the house. This is the back. All of this here exists already. It's just this little bit on the side is all you're gonna see from the, York side. So having said that, when you take a look at the next elevation, right from here to here is roughly what you see with that. And as you can see, they've got door walls, windows, fenestration on this. This is a very small side here, as is the same thing here, and this is from the back side. The problem side with this is that this actually shows more because they have to go up here, whereas on this side, it's not visible. So this is why you see less here, even on the York side, it's actually less visible from the York side than it is looking from the backyard. So having said that, they do meet their height requirements, they meet the front yard requirements, they meet the side yard requirements, they meet the rear yard requirements, other than is proposed is 22 feet, but it's a technical side yard, but a practical rear yard. So that's why those figures are different. They're underneath the 30% for the lot coverage at 27.8, and their house size is maxed out at 3050, but they're only asking for 2722. So having said that, these are the things that they're looking at. I just want to point this out because it's from the front of the house, even though that's actually the side, the Concord side, you don't even see this. So, but you do see this little bit from the backyard, and you see this little bit from the front yard. So that's why they're here, is because it's visible from the street. So if you have any other questions with this, I'm certainly happy to answer them, as I'm sure Mr. Green can as well. So whatever we can do to help you out or answer any questions you might have, we're happy to do.
Hey, thanks, Hank. Any public participation? All right, Gail?
Okay, you're replacing all of the windows in the house, is that correct?
Correct.
And they are currently wood windows, and are you replacing them with wood windows?
They are not wood windows right now. And we are looking to use the fiberglass windows.
Okay. And then the other question I have, Hank, for you, is that I see in the basement recreation area and also in the mechanical area that there are going to be 2 egress windows, and they are in the front of the house.
Yeah, they would have to apply for that. You can't have that. That's actually a side yard.
Okay,
So because it faces York, so that's actually a side yard. Even though it's in the front of the house, it's technically the side yard, so they can be there.
okay, that's what I wondered about, because.
Good question, though.
Okay, the lot is platted off of York.
Yes.
And it's, built off of Concord.
That's why those are a side yard.
Okay, and so that is a side yard and it is permissible there.
Yes,
even
ma'am.
though, quote, it's in the front, it technically is in the side. Okay, thank you.
I have a question about that. So if we're saying it's turned on the lot and the practical front is on a different side, then in the spirit of our ordinance is about not having the egress windows on the front, we can't.
Very clear. I can't, I wouldn't even send that to the zoning board of appeals. I've gone over that with the city attorney. If we plat them off the front is off of York, that's a side yard, and all side yard requirements are allowed with that, so. That's where they tell you can't have it on the front of the house, and that's the front part of the lot, and that's the front part of the lot is York.
Okay.
Will there be any shrubbery or vegetation around it so that you're not seeing the egress?
The
and
idea
cover?
is to have it's very simple, basic requirement to comply with code for egress, and it will be landscaped and screened. That's the idea.
Okay,
Okay, Blake?
I think with all the clarification, this seems very straightforward. I think it's well done. I have no objections to it. I have no further questions.
Chris?
My only question, I echo Blake, my only question is as far as the elevation where you can really see it, I don't know, on the top piece, is that facing York or is that?
This is facing the
neighbor?
backyard, this is facing the neighbor in the backyard.
Okay, all right. That was my only question.
So this is this is what they're seeing on the other side, it's
Yeah.
just that little sliver.
Okay.
the neighbor on York.
That's
sides
correct.
to York.
Joe?
Nothing additional. Glad it worked out for you.
I don't have anything else to add. Just a reminder that you have 5, you need 5 votes for it to pass. Looking for a motion.
So move to approve the plans as submitted?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, passes.
Can I ask the homeowner one question? How'd your trees fare in the storm?
Actually surprisingly well, our neighbors not so much.
I think that was a pretty tough corner.
Yeah, exactly. Our neighbor right across, they had a big chunk of their tree come down and it blocked the whole street corner for a while.
I come in on Concord because I live on Concord.
Yep.
But by Henry.
Yep, yeah, it was something. Thank you so much.
You want your plans back?
I'll take them.
Take care. Folks, if you want to move up, you can pull another chair up there if you want to get 3.
What's the talk?
Hank, I'm gonna give you a second to pull it up there.
Thank you.
All right, moving to item 6. Matter of review of a new house at 8104 Huntington.
Yes.
So if you want to start off, I don't, whoever's the
I'm
architect.
Carol Patrikas.
Okay.
We're excited to break ground. We've owned the property for a little while. A tree actually fell on it, and so we demolished it. And it's taking us a while to come up with the plan that we all agree on. And so we have presented you with something that we think we will enjoy.
Okay.
My name is Vishnu Hansa Kunatai, and I am an architect for the clients. And he came to me because he has a house, his son has a house in Huntington Woods. And we have been friends for a long time. And he just wanted me to help design the house that he likes. He likes the old style German house, not the way French, German. But the way he wants it.
We wanted a Tudor revival, but it went 41 feet.
The height, I told him to look at the height limitation. They said, oh, I look at the zoning ordinance, and then the height limitation is to the top, not to the center of the high roof, like a lot of cities do at the center, the midpoint. And we revised a few times, changing the elevation once, right?
So we
Once
met-
or twice. It's too many times.
So we met the height.
And we made a Mansour with the windows.
The comments.
And we brought in the products we were going to use.
Yeah, if you could go through those.
So,
You have to
you
look at the elevation up.
have the elevation?
Yes. Sure. And Hank can pull it up as well.
Okay, now that's
Okay.
going to give you a look of a 100-year-old home, which I think is very charming in Huntington Woods. I think it blends right in with the neighbors.
And we're going to have grills on all the windows? The mutton bars? And we brought the sample of the windows in.
Okay, yeah, if you could just go
We
through
have
some of the
two chimneys
materials there.
Because we are in the limestone business, and.
So these are Pella.
We can walk in there, so they
Hello,
stay
window.
closer.
And the private, or the premier ones.
The reserve.
Okay.
And exterior finishes, we use, we just use the term EFIS, and basically like exterior insulation finishing system, like a dry fit. It looked like concrete.
It's a
And then he had the
limestone.
limestone on the bottom and a limestone
It's gonna
finish.
be all limestone on the bottom.
Can we ask that you speak in
Yeah,
the
let's
microphone,
bring
or
it
I
up.
won't pick it up?
So the bottom of the house is all gonna be limestone. And it's gonna have this,
The water table.
it's gonna have that bevel on it at the top. And it's gonna be even all the way around. There's no up and downs where a window's too high.
Where we're gonna put the
So we made it even all the way around. And then the ephes is this one, which is gonna sit on top of it. And then the fireplaces are all gonna be Indiana limestone. It's not gonna be ephes. And they're gonna be real fireplaces. They're not gonna be prefabbed. But the one in the family room, we are gonna put gas in it. But the one in the living room will be fire. And then the coining on the corners is all gonna be Indiana limestone. It's not gonna be ephes. And then the trim around that, living room window will be trimmed with real limestone. And all the window sills will be limestone with this style. This is like an older look style. Just to give it a little more charm.
Showing the shingle, the roof.
And then on top of the chimney, we were gonna do decorative flues, like what you see. So they'll stand up 32 inches taller. And then the roof, we were gonna do it out of a slate composite.
It's a rubber.
Rubber. But it withstands winds. It has like a 110-year warranty.
No, 110 miles per hour.
110 warranty. Yeah.
If the winds come that fast, it'll stay on.
Yeah, fire,
So it's got a lot of quality
and
materials.
it resembles slate. So we want
Can you
that
speak
old
into the
roof.
microphone?
And it looks like slate. I mean, it's not real slate. where
It continues
cracks.
the
It'll never
old
crack.
world charm
And
with
we
the
thought that
slate
would
roof.
fit into
And
Huntington Woods.
we'll be bringing that down into the front sidewalk
Well, we're
and
gonna
in the
do
back.
A
Yeah.
bluestone sidewalk. So it's-
Stone, piece of stone.
Yeah, bluestone sidewalk, to give it charm. And then the garage is detached.
All right, if you guys are all set, I'll let Hank run through his portion of it.
Okay, I'm happy to do that, and then if they have anything they want to add or something like that, you'll have an opportunity to add to what I'm going to say here. So the way that this is laid out is your first page here that you're looking at, this is the garage. So they have the windows, they have the doors on the west elevation, they have a man door on the south elevation. The east elevation, they're still showing limestone detail around the entire thing, so it's actually real limestone on the garage, which a lot of people wouldn't do, but great. And then ephes is what they're proposing for the top of this. They have a ridge vent at the top of this, they're showing on the west elevation, they're also showing it on the front gable end on the north elevation. I'm assuming there's vents in the soffit. Okay, so there is gonna be venting in the soffit on that. The first floor plan here is what they're showing is that they have, here's the foundation and basement plan. You can see the structural, but that wouldn't so much concern the planning commission, other than they have egress windows in the foundation, which is okay. Here they have, because that's gonna be in the rear of the building, or the side rather, and then here the first floor elevation, this is an elevator shaft, and this is their staircase, and this whole thing here is open to below. So there's a large space that they don't have a second floor on. So it gives you a feeling of, when you walk into the front, this will help you understand this more, because this is where they're at with it right here. So if you take a look at these are consistent on the sides of this. Those are the dog houses. This is your front door elevation. There's their first chimney. Here's the same thing on the back of it, so there's plenty of fenestration on this. The only thing, again, and I know that the planning commission is gonna bring it up, so I'll just get the elephant in the room out there right now, is that ephes is not a material that's normally common to Huntington Woods. The other question that you might have is that the colors that they're doing, they're the colors that they have there with a slight variation, so that's gonna be a very similar color for the entire structure. It does meet the height requirement. It's 30 feet, so they don't get the height, but they don't get a bonus for that. They do have a front yard requirement, the proposed is 3566, they need 30. Their side yards are fine, their rear yard is also fine, the lot coverage is also good. The maximum house size, they're over by 190 square feet. So they're gonna need to go to the zoning board of appeals for that, or make a correction to the size, one or the other. So you can take a look and see that one of the lots next to them is the same size, the other lot is smaller. At 3360, again, they need the bonus, they need to go to the ZBA for that, or change the size. It's 2,300 square feet to the south neighbor, and 8124 to the north, 2289 to the north neighbor on Huntington. And, again, the concerns are is that, the material and the way that it looks, like the monotone look, may add to the massing type of look to it. Other than that, I mean, they're using the inside with the elevator and that, that gets deducted from their square footage. But the issue with that is they're trying to design their last house, is where they want to be. So that's why the elevator and everything like that is in there, which is really nice. They have the room to do it, but even with that all subtracted, they're still over the 190 square feet. So having said that, I have included some details and some information for you in the packet. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, as I'm sure that Wisnu or Bill or Carol would be happy to answer them as well. So with that, Mr. Chair, the floor is yours.
I have a question. You know, when we count the square foot, do we count the square foot of the fireplace too?
Yes.
Make smaller.
Outside wall to outside wall.
What's that?
Make it smaller.
The fireplace?
Hank, do we have a landscaping plan that goes with this?
You have a plan that was just presented just before the meeting, so it's sitting on your table. I have not had a chance to review it as of yet, as I'm sure you haven't, because you got here later than I
It
did.
is minimal.
So,
So the other one was too aggressive and a misunderstanding a little bit. And when I ran it to the landscaper, I didn't really realize how many bushes and trees there were. They're existing. The arborvitaes are existing, so we're not, I don't know how that went down, but when I said, arborvitaes do look good with a row of boxwood in front, and it was put in and it shouldn't have, so those are eliminated. And
Key
a
plan as
lot
well
of
of
the
the old
perennials
project.
are
By
eliminated.
border.
We were gonna lock them in with the boxwood, and that would be down the road. So actually what's here now is the minimal amount to meet the requirements. And then
But we don't have any shade trees, so I do want to put some shade trees.
So I think you picked linden trees, I'm not
I
sure.
didn't,
But we do want to do the pines, but that would be the columnar. Because we're right now live on over an acre in Milford, but we know those spruce trees can get really huge, 50 feet wide. So we would be putting columnar trees, which happen to get maybe 5 feet.
Mr. Chair, as for the plan, should you decide to move this forward, I would suggest that you make it subject to review of the site plan for code requirements and landscape requirements. The plan that we had before this did not meet that. The corrected plan maybe, but that first plan, the ones that we reviewed, had arborvitaes that went all the way down to the sidewalk, and they can't do that, so.
And those
that was wrong.
We didn't would ask for that.
Yeah, we didn't
I
want
don't know how
that.
that,
I don't know how that happened.
but, so the new, site plan, it does not,
So Hank, just to clarify that, the city's engineering consultant has not reviewed the.
Not the latest plan, no.
And did they have any other comments on the plan prior to that?
They have, the plan prior to that, they did have some comments and suggestions, but now they're gonna be moot because I have to submit this plan to them.
Okay.
So I can't rely on that because I have a later plan. So I need to get this to Noack and Frous in order to see if everything still complies. I haven't even had a chance to look at
That's
this.
my
We got this 10
consultant.
minutes before the
No, I
meeting.
can follow, that's my consultant.
Okay.
Show them the front door too.
As did you, I would say.
That's the,
All right, we'll open it up for public participation.
Good evening. My name is Jason Bach. I live at 8124 Huntington Road, which is directly north of the subject property. The reason why I came in here was because I came in last week and saw the landscape plan, and the arborvitaes were all the way down. 6'2" arborvitaes were all the way down to the sidewalk on the north side and to the south side. So I did have a concern with that, just simply backing out of a driveway, not being able to see, it's a vision obstruction.
Right.
That's a heavily,
That was a mistake.
totally agree.
that's the only reason why I was here. It was a big concern of mine. My son had a swimming meet at Pleasant Ridge, and I wanted to make sure that I voiced my concerns, so I left there to come here but I was just given the new plans, so.
We agree with you.
But I think the point is mute now because of the new landscape plans, so. But again, I just received a copy of these, maybe 10 minutes ago, so I can have the opportunity. I mean, I came in Thursday, to look, and those were the plans that, as of that time, so.
Right. And then,
So I believe that's all I had to say.
Okay, thank
we're
you.
sorry.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that at all.
I just wanted to make sure, so thank you.
We were just meeting the deadline.
All right, anything else? Public participation? All right. Close public participation, Gail?
Well, I know the house that was there and came down, I used to live around the block from there over on Wareham, and almost backing straight up if you went through to my house, through the yards. And it's been sitting empty for a while, waiting for the house to come up. And I'm just curious, with the ordinance that we have, Hank, where are the bonuses for their extra square footage? And I know they're getting it for their detached garage in order to get their, 300 square feet in bonus, as to why you feel you need to have another 190 on top of it and can't build within the zoning proposal, is my first concern, is staying within the zoning proposal. Is there a reason why
It is a lot and a half, and it is wide in the front, but then it narrows in the back.
Okay,
it's a pie shape.
It's the
kind of.
design of the house that we designed.
It's-
Just, the rooms aren't really that big, like the living room, and
Yeah, they're not that generous of.
so
We
it
do
would,
have the room, we have the living room, the family room.
it would shrink certain
Yeah.
spaces.
I mean, 3,107 square feet on a lot and a half is a decent sized house, and you're asking to have a house that's 3,360 square feet, on a lot and a half. And I'm just wondering, I didn't see it as Hank was talking about it, as to whether it was a number based upon the elevator shaft and being able to do it for that. If a wall came in by a foot or two along there, you're gonna gain, get it within reason. And, when going to the zoning board of appeals, you're supposed to be going for the least possible request for it, and you're already starting above what you're proposing as a zoning size that's permitted on that size lot. So I'm just wondering if there's a rationale for that particular size. My other concern is in materials. We do not have that material. The limestone is beautiful. I love the use of the limestone, both around the windows, at the base, even in the garage. but then when you're sticking the other on there, and I take it your windows are gonna be black?
Black.
Okay, which will be very dramatic or whatever else, you're still gonna have a monochromatic look, which is going to mass itself on top of its size. And for that, I have a concern.
I mean,
And the material of it, because we don't typically have that material here in Huntington Woods. We have stucco, you know,
That's
this-
almost like a stucco, that's
This-
one.
it is more like, but it's not.
But
It's not a stucco.
this is supposed to insulate your house better.
Yeah, that's,
And the reason I liked it is because I didn't want all the joints with limestone, because we got a lot of limestone on the house. And then if you do blocks, you're gonna see all these blocks, where this is smooth, plus I got a lot of limestone. The chimneys on the bottom, around the windows. It's gonna be mostly limestone. A lot.
I understand it would be a very lot of limestone, you know, there are beautiful, beautiful limestone houses. You know, there may be a couple here in Huntington Woods, but you go down to Boston Edison or whatever else, and, you know, you've got limestone block houses and they're exquisite. You know, and I don't find that material to be exquisite to go along with the beauty that you're putting in your base and in your window trim and stuff like that.
I do have a picture of a house we just did with this in limestone,
Sure.
if you want to see it.
Do you want to continue and then let him talk after?
Yeah,
Because
so,
this is turning into a discourse rather than a comment.
yeah, yeah, if you would, we'll go around and.
Those are
then-
my concerns.
Yeah, and then we can address stuff, through me. Blake?
I echo some of Gail's comments about, I'm a little concerned about monotony, given that the two predominant materials are very much in the same value range. I'm also not a fan of Drive It, but I have mixed feelings about, that, having that conversation. I guess my bigger concern, there's a lot going on here. I mean, there were some comments about Tudor revival, and there's some French influence, and you get a lot going on. My biggest worry is that when we start to talk about a harmonious relationship with the other houses in the neighborhood, I'm not sure that this reflects the sort of continuity with the other homes. So that would be my biggest red flag. That's all.
All right, Chris?
Yeah, I think, starting off, I echo Gail a little bit with the variance of the over 190 square feet variance as well, on a new build. I have a little bit of concern with that, so.
Okay, thank you. Joe?
Yeah, I agree with Gail's comments. I mean, it's going to be a hard sell to ZBA for your variance based on it being a new build. And some of the material concerns that Gail expressed as well. I think it's going to have a massing effect for sure.
Okay. I have similar concerns, and it's massing amplified by the monochromatic coloring of it. And it's massing in part due to the height of it too. It's not just the square footage, it's that it is absolutely maxed out on everything. So that's a big concern, and I agree with Joe. It'd be a very, very tough sell at the zoning board of appeals for additional square footage on a new house. In addition to that, we're looking at more commercial materials here, EFS. I believe there's a section of storefront glazing in there, is that correct?
No, what? No, I don't think so.
What is the clear story by the stairs there? What,
That's called a contemporary window.
it's like a,
Very
more like
popular
a,
in new construction.
it's more like a curtain wall system, kind of. That's a little bit kind of commercial use, but the company that they did is Pella, right? The one you
Pella.
got.
It's Pella Reserve. It's the top of the line of Pella.
okay, so regardless of what that window system is. It's not something that is common in
It's on new
Huntington,
construction.
in Huntington Woods currently. So I think probably want to see a little bit more detail on that. Also, looking at the elevations along with the massing, there's sections that would just be large expanses of ephes with no joints, and I understand the desire to not have joints, but that just increases the massing as well. So I can appreciate what you're looking to do here. I think there's a general consensus that, you know, so there's material concerns, there's massing concerns. With, I think, the comments that were made tonight, I think we would want to discuss whether or not it makes sense to table this to a future meeting, unless you want us to vote on it.
I mean, the actual color of the ephes is going to be more white. This was the sample that was coming in from,
The stone was going to be darker, not much.
and then they actually created this board for you.
The blend with the
in
limestone.
In a limestone color, when it should have been more white. Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that. I don't know that that would change any of the concerns I've heard here.
I believe the ephes, we have some joints too. You have to have the joint in the ephes, more like
Okay.
an expansion joint in the ephes.
I mean, the coining is all limestone, the water table all around surround is all limestone, 2 fireplaces, limestone, and then the, all windowsills, window bases, and then the front will have, the picture window in the front will have a limestone surround, and the 2 sliding glass doors will have a limestone surround.
No, the concern is like the big massive of the material. Is that possible that if we can do like the joint system, make it look like a design joint on the ephes, it will like reduce the massiveness.
I can only speak for myself, but if you made this brick entirely, or this house entirely out of brick, a totally different material, the massing would still be an issue.
That's correct.
It is not just material selection, those 2 items kind of come together in terms of massing, but the house itself, regardless of material, is just too big in the lot and in the area that it's in. And I think the other thing that's not really helping us understand this is we don't have an elevation with the adjacent neighbors to see if it does fit. Hank, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's one of our.
It's still required, yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of our requirements, so. I guess it, you know, I'm leaving it up to you, we're trying to give you some feedback, I feel like. You can probably get a sense of where I'm at, and at a minimum, it's 5 votes, but just a sense of where I'm at in this. There's a few too many items that still need to be addressed with it to stay within our ordinances, to meet the site plan requirements, to clarify the landscaping, that sort of thing, that I don't feel like it's something that we should vote on at this time, unless you'd really like that.
Mr. Chair, just for clarification too, if they did want to ask for a motion to table, the table would save them fees as far as renoticing it, and it would put it to the next regular meeting of that. That would give them approximately 30 days to make corrections or take into consideration what the planning commission has said tonight. So having said that, they may wish to do that. If you want to give them maybe a minute or 2 to discuss that, you could certainly do that. Other than that, they certainly have the right to have a vote this evening, whatever the pleasure is.
Do you want to take a moment to talk about that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, if you want to step out, we'll take a.
Mr. Chair, then
2
if you
minute
want to call for like a
Yeah,
2 minute
yeah, we'll
3
call
minute
for a
recess.
2-minute recess.
Yeah, that'll give them a couple minutes to check it out.
Use the restroom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the meeting?
All right, reconvene the meeting at 7:52. You want to, what is your take, I guess, at this time? Table it, or would you like a vote?
No, we're going to table it.
Okay. All right, so we're looking for a motion to table.
I'll move we table the site plan to the next commission meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, item 7, matter of setting public hearing and review of the fence ordinance.
So, Mr. Chair, let me give you a little bit of background on this and where it comes from. Since the zoning board of appeals would regularly hear a lot of fence ordinance questions and a lot of issues with that. But one of the main issues that we've had with the fence ordinance all along of it has been that we ask that the neighbors sign off on it. So in effect, we've been asking the neighbors to be the de facto zoning board of appeals for this type of thing. And you really shouldn't do that. So what this allows us is a chance to correct that. So along the way, while we're correcting that, because that's also at the recommendation of the city attorney, so we changed a couple other things to make sure that we were covering everything. So I'll just go through it pretty quick, and then I would ask that you set this for public hearing at the next meeting, so that any questions or comments or anything that you have like that we can't answer here, we'll be able to answer for you at the next meeting, and then we'll be able to go forward with that. So having said this, when you go fence, hedges, and walls, there's some language changes where it says that fences are up to 6 feet in height are permitted along shared property lines, provided that the fence meet all the other requirements of this articles and subject to section I2 below. So this kind of gives you, there's a lot of semantic gymnastics in here, but the key for this is that they're allowing privacy fences by right. The location of the privacy fences is not changing. You just don't need your neighbor's permission. The other thing that they're changing is that if you do get a privacy fence, and there are other fences on the lot line, the neighbor who's facing that fence and has the other view of the fences has the right to have you, as the applicant, take out those fences at your own expense, so that there still won't be two fences on the lot line, unless the other neighbor is agreeable to it. So if the other neighbor is agreeable to it, then the thought process is no harm, no foul. So having said that, that's where the one thing comes up. And again, we go through the 4-foot fences, nothing has changed really with that except some gymnastics. And it just says a fence in the side yard should not be located next to a driveway and an adjacent parcel in a manner that would interfere or prevent full use of the adjacent driveway. Meaning you can't butt it right up there so the guy can't open his door. So that was one of the things that we wanted to take a look at.
Hank, can you clarify in G?
Yes, sir.
Where it's talking about fences up to 4 feet in height, so that is just about a 4-foot.
That's just about a 4-foot
Okay.
fence. There are some other portions of this other than just the privacy fence. So this basically serves as not just a vehicle for privacy fences, but this is some language that needed to be cleaned
Got it.
up along the way.
Okay.
So, and then structural requirements, it talks about the materials that they're used. And then here, walls should not exceed 30 inches above natural grade. That's walls, it's fences, walls, and hedges. And they took out some language you can see in the red copies of this. And again, one fence per lot line, which is the other restriction that I brought up. In the event of a property owner wishes to install a new fence along a property line that contains an existing chain link fence on the adjacent property, the owner seeking the installation of the new fence shall be required to move the existing chain link fence at their own expense and install the new fence on the property line, subject to the approval of the adjacent property owner. Meaning that if the guy doesn't care or your neighbor doesn't care that the other fence is there, or there's a cyclone fence there and they would rather have it remain because for whatever reason they're going to put vines on it or something like that to help, shield the privacy fence, they have the right to do that. But this point here would be the only time that they could ask the neighbor to remove the fence. There's no waiting 3 years and then going back to the guy and saying, hey, we'd like to go ahead have you remove that fence
Right.
after all. So that wouldn't be fair. So again, it goes through prohibited materials. The one other thing that, I did want to make sure got in here, and it did, was in section M, zoo fencing and screening adjacent to Huntington Woods. If you take a look at outside animal habitat in section C, 3, we added the permitted fence height for outside animal habitat is 10 feet. We added unless recommended by the American Society of Zoos and Aquariums. I don't profess to be somebody that can tell anybody how big a fence you need to keep that tiger in there. So however the zoo says that they need a fence, if the American Society of Zoos and Aquariums says they need a 12-foot fence to have a tiger, or a 15-foot fence, I would rather have the 15-foot fence than risk an animal getting loose. In the long history of the zoo, we have had a few animals get loose. They haven't been really of any consequences. We have had a lemur get loose. We have had baboons get loose. We regularly get peacocks strutting around the city. You know, and that happens almost on a yearly basis, if not a couple times a year. But the zoo fencing, we really thought was best left determined to the zoo because they're the ones that have that, and the city doesn't want to incur any of the liability by making something shorter than it should be. So having said that, these are just the basics of the red line document. There's also a clean copy. So what I would ask is that if you have any questions, that you feel free to articulate them, because they'll be picked up in the minutes on this, and Sarah will get those for us. So we'll have them before the next meeting. Also, if you read this or you take it home and you read it, or there's some questions or concerns, you certainly can email me on an individual basis. You may not have a general email with everybody, because that would be a violation of the Open Meetings Act. If you have a question or a concern, I can take care of it for you and make sure that it's in the next packet for you. Having said that, this is what we have. If you have some concerns, again, this has been voiced by residents, this has been voiced by contractors, and the city commission actually thought that we should maybe take a look at this and see what we could come up with, but it didn't make sense to just do the privacy fences. If we're going to do it, let's do the whole thing. So other than that, Mr. Chair, if you have any questions, I'm certainly open to answer them.
Okay, thanks, Hank. Public participation? All right, close public participation. Gail?
Hank, I have a question. You talk about a fence along a driveway that can't interfere with, you know, somebody's ability to open and close or get out of their, you know, out of their cars and things like that. There are sometimes properties that have fences that don't run along driveways, but run on the other side, and people have generators or air conditionings on the side of their home, and when somebody puts a fence there, it makes it very difficult for service.
You're required to have 18 inches to service, is what my understanding is. So as long as they have room to get around it.
I don't think if you've only got a 5-foot setback, I don't think you're gonna be able to do that.
I couldn't comment on that until I saw the size of the generator or the air conditioning unit, because some of those are 18 by 18, and out of a matter of, you know, the 5 feet on the side yard setback, that's very little. So you certainly can get around that to do that. Some generators have that, and they don't necessarily have a fence. Between the two properties, they typically don't have fences unless one comes through a side yard, and then it goes to the next and it returns back 3 feet in front of the side door. It's the only time that happens, but again, that's there specifically to avoid situations like that. So if it doesn't work, you can't have the fence there. If the fence exists, the fence exists. But you can't, I mean, you're not, anytime you change an ordinance, which is a fluid document, you're not going to fix all the woes. There are going to be houses where somebody has it faces one way, like the house that we saw that faced Concord tonight. If that had a fence that was on the backyard driveway, okay, that may be a problem. But in that case, you step in the fence, because that can be done at that point. In this case, you may not be able to, so the fence would be not allowed to do that, but it would only go up to the rear portion of the house, at which point that fence would be legal.
Okay.
Anything else, Gail?
Nope.
Blake?
Excited about it? No questions.
Chris?
No questions.
Joe?
I think it's a good thing. If there's a gate in the side yard or a gate across the driveway, it can be the same height as the privacy fence.
That's correct. You can return it the same height, otherwise it would look
Kind of
awkward.
All right, great.
Hank, what is the change with invisible fences?
Okay, let's get to the invisible fences.
Page 4,
Yep.
towards the bottom.
So, invisible fences that contain dogs should be permitted. All invisible fences shall be installed to meet front, rear, side yard setbacks for the property. There's a couple reasons for this. People do have dogs that they use invisible fences to contain on the property. For some animals, it works very well. For some of the larger animals that bolt through them, they'll go through it and then they'll be scared to come back. So the areas that they want to do is to keep also with the invisible fences is to keep animals from coming in, but they have to be wearing a collar. And it just says that that invisible fences to contain dogs shall be permitted. It's already permitted. So that's not a problem. But what it does say is that the invisible fences shall be installed to meet the front, rear, and side setbacks for the property. Meaning that they shouldn't be in the front yard. They could be in the side yard to the extent that they, that you have, and then they could be in the backyard in the same fashion as the other if people choose not to have that. So the dog runs being prohibited portion of that already exists. The reason for that is that if you had a lot and you were trying to let me put the dog run over here, people were putting them under their neighbors' kitchen windows and then not cleaning them up, and it became somewhat problematic with that. We've had more than one occasion with that, and that's why they decided to do away with the dog runs. And that was a long time ago. That wasn't something recent.
And the invisible fences, those are not permitted in the front.
They're not permitted in the front.
Yeah, because we gotten some complaints about that years back, I remember.
Right, and part of the
People
problem.
don't know that there's an invisible fence and they see this dog and they freak out because it's running, but they don't know it's gonna
Right.
stop.
And a lot, well, and then again, it's theoretically gonna stop. You don't
Yeah,
know
right.
that the dog doesn't charge right through that and then gets scared and doesn't come back, but now the dog is loose and it
Right.
won't come back towards the house. So rather than do that, this is a little bit more concise and a little bit more explanatory.
What page is this on?
Page 4,
I
I3.
So, Hank, I'd suggest that this is somehow rephrased, because
Okay?
meeting the front, rear, and side yard setbacks for the property, are those as contained in the zoning ordinance for, what setback?
We could add that. As
Well, I
contained
don't
in
know
the-
that that's necessarily what we want, because we don't want them in the front yard.
Well, we don't want them in the front yard, period, so.
But they're
if-
there.
But they're there now, but they're grandfathered in, but the idea still is the same. Eventually, when it's non-conforming, eventually with non-conformities, they go away. That's
Yeah.
the impetus for that, so they couldn't reinstall it there. Having said that, they're supposed to, because they're supposed to be on a circuit, they're supposed to have they're digging, they're putting wires in the ground. Some of those wires will cross our stop box area, so it has to be behind that, so that was back when they allowed that. So if you want some clarification, we're certainly happy to look at that. Anything that you give me, I send all of this before it comes here, it all goes to Carol Rosati. So this all goes to our city attorney prior to coming back here. So if there's some language you would like prior to the hearing next month, and you feel that that's gonna be better suited to that, and that's one of those areas you certainly could, feel free to ask us to amend that. We're certainly happy to proffer.
Yeah, I think we would want to be more specific to, what do we call for in terms of the back of the house?
So actually call it out.
Oh, yeah,
Instead of saying
specifically, and
setback.
then say, I don't know, 3 feet from the property line on the side and rear yards?
Okay.
Something to that extent?
Or by a side door or something like that. But I'd like to see you make number 3, dog runs are prohibited, and number 4, deal with invisible fences. I don't think invisible fences and dog runs go together,
Okay,
That's a good point.
okay, we can do that.
okay? And if you go on to say it, then invisible fences to contain dogs shall be permitted. All invisible fences shall be installed to meet the rear and side yard setbacks for the property. They are not permitted in the front yard. And just say that.
Yeah, but I don't think that the rear yard setback is what we're looking for, because the rear yard setback,
Okay, well,
depending
then they're
on,
permitted
depending
in
on
the-
setback, could be,
Okay.
what, 40 feet from the back of the yard?
Correct, it would go to the,
It could be.
Yeah,
could
so I think we should establish a distance from the property line, separate from a
setback.
building setback.
I agree, I don't think it should be tied to setbacks, I think it should be tied to location.
We can actually, what may be helpful with that is if we include a graphic.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
And then we can actually have a graphic and show exactly where the fence can be. And then at that point, that should remove all doubt, along with the language changes that you've suggested this evening. We could certainly do that.
And I think it would be okay if the invisible fence, similar to our other fence statement, the side door, 3 feet to the side door, so you could let your dog out still at your side door, if that's what you had. I don't think we should restrict it.
I agree.
To that extent, but.
3 feet in front of.
Sorry, just writing.
Similar to where the fence can go.
Yeah, exactly. I understand that.
Just not on the property line, on the side yards.
Did you have anything else?
You're
I
reading
think
it,
it's
that's what I
needed.
saw.
Okay, so we're looking for a motion to set the public hearing,
Yes, sir.
At our
uh,
next meeting?
at
For the
our
next
next
regular
regular meeting.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes. All right, item 8, public participation. No public participation. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I would like to thank all 5 of you for being here. We needed every last one of you.
Thank you, Joe. What did you say?
So